The black waters of Iron Bottom Sound stretched endlessly beneath the tropical night sky on August 1, 1943. Seaman First Class Hiroshi Tanaka pressed his binoculars against the cold steel railing of destroyer Sendai as she cut through the Solomon Islands' darkness at 28 knots. The 5,500-ton Sendai-class destroyer carried a crew of 450 men and mounted 6 55-inch guns in her main battery. Tonight she led the Tokyo Express run down the slot toward Guadalcanal. Tanaka had served aboard Japanese destroyers for 18 months since the attack on Pearl Harbor. The 20-year-old sailor from Osaka had witnessed surface actions at the Java Sea and the nighttime gun battles around Guadalcanal. But he had never encountered the small, fast attack craft that American forces were deploying throughout the Solomon Islands campaign. Commander Kenzo Itami commanded Sendai from the destroyer's bridge as the Tokyo Express formation steamed south through Iron Bottom Sound. His task force included 3 destroyers carrying supplies and reinforcements for Japanese forces defending Henderson Field on Guadalcanal. The high-speed night runs had become standard tactics for the Imperial Japanese Navy throughout the Solomon Islands. The Tokyo Express runs represented the only method available to Japanese commanders for resupplying isolated garrisons throughout the Solomon Islands chain. American air power dominated daylight hours, making conventional supply operations impossible. Only under cover of darkness could Japanese destroyers penetrate the waters around Guadalcanal. Lieutenant Commander Saburo Hayashi served as Sendai's executive officer during the high-speed run toward Guadalcanal. His position in the destroyer's Combat Information Center gave him responsibility for tracking enemy contacts and coordinating defensive measures. Japanese destroyers relied on optical spotting and voice communications for fire control during night engagements. Sendai's lookouts strained their eyes searching for American patrol vessels known to operate throughout Iron Bottom Sound during nighttime hours. Intelligence reports described fast attack craft of unknown design that had begun intercepting Tokyo Express runs with increasing frequency. These mysterious vessels appeared capable of high-speed attacks against much larger warships. Chief Petty Officer Kenji Matsumoto supervised the 25mm anti-aircraft gun crews positioned along Sendai's superstructure. The rapid-fire weapons served as the destroyer's primary defense against close-range attacks by small vessels. Each gun could fire 220 rounds per minute using high-explosive shells effective against lightly armored targets. The Sendai-class destroyers had been designed for fleet actions against enemy cruisers and battleships during major surface engagements. Their 55-inch guns could engage targets at ranges exceeding 20,000 yards, while their torpedo armament included 8 24-inch long lance weapons. But these capabilities proved less effective against small, fast-moving targets. Sonar Operator Second Class Ichiro Suzuki monitored underwater contacts from his position in Sendai's sound room. Japanese destroyer sonar equipment could detect submerged submarines at ranges up to 3,000 yards. But the primitive hydrophone systems were less effective against surface vessels traveling at high speeds. The Tokyo Express formation maintained radio silence during the approach to Guadalcanal to avoid detection by American intercept stations. Communication between Japanese destroyers relied on signal lamps and flag messages that could be observed by enemy forces equipped with night vision devices. Operational security remained a constant concern during these high-risk missions. Gunnery Officer Lieutenant Akira Yamamoto coordinated Sendai's main battery from the forward fire control station. The destroyer's 3 twin 55-inch turrets could engage surface targets using optical rangefinders and manual fire control calculations. Japanese naval gunnery doctrine emphasized rapid fire at close ranges during night surface actions. American intelligence services had identified the Tokyo Express runs as critical vulnerabilities in Japanese supply operations throughout the Solomon Islands. The high-speed destroyer formations were vulnerable to attack during their predictable approaches to major Japanese bases. This tactical weakness created opportunities for innovative American countermeasures. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 3 operated from advanced bases throughout the Solomon Islands under the command of Lieutenant Commander Alan Montgomery. His PT boats were specifically designed for high-speed attacks against enemy destroyers and supply vessels. The 80-foot plywood boats could achieve speeds exceeding 40 knots while carrying 421-inch torpedoes. PT-109 was commanded by Lieutenant Junior Grade John Kennedy as part of a 4-boat patrol intercepting Japanese destroyer formations in Iron Bottom Sound. The young officer from Massachusetts had arrived in the Solomon Islands 3 months earlier with extensive training in small boat tactics and night warfare operations. The PT boats represented a revolutionary approach to naval warfare that Japanese commanders had not anticipated during pre-war planning. These small, fast attack craft could penetrate defensive formations using speed and maneuverability while delivering torpedo attacks against much larger vessels. American naval doctrine emphasized hit-and-run tactics that maximized the PT boat's inherent advantages. Engineman First Class Patrick McMahon operated the 3 Packard Marine engines that powered PT-109 to maximum speed during attack runs. Each 1,500 horsepower engine could propel the lightweight plywood boat at speeds that exceeded most enemy vessels. High speed was the primary survival mechanism for PT boats operating against superior enemy firepower. The PT boat crews had trained extensively in night attack procedures that took advantage of their vessel's superior speed and small size. Standard tactics involved high-speed approaches under cover of darkness followed by torpedo attacks at close range. The small boats could disappear into the night before enemy vessels could bring effective fire to bear. Radioman Second Class John McGuire monitored communications between PT boats during coordinated attacks against Japanese destroyer formations. Secure radio nets allowed real-time coordination between multiple boats while maintaining radio silence until the moment of attack. Communication security was essential for successful PT boat operations. Torpedoman Second Class Raymond Albert armed the 421-inch Mark 8 torpedoes carried by .109 during the patrol mission. Each weapon weighed 3,000 pounds and carried a 600-pound warhead capable of sinking a destroyer with a single hit. The torpedoes were launched from fixed tubes mounted on the boat's deck. Commander Itami studied the tactical situation from Sendai's bridge as the Tokyo Express formation approached the waters off Guadalcanal. Intelligence reports indicated increased American patrol activity throughout Iron Bottom Sound. But Japanese naval doctrine assumed that enemy surface vessels would be larger warships suitable for conventional gun battles. Lookout Seaman Tanaka swept his binoculars across the dark water searching for signs of American patrol vessels. The moonless night provided excellent concealment for both Japanese and American forces operating in Iron Bottom Sound. Visibility was limited to a few hundred yards despite the clear tropical sky. The first indication of enemy contact came from Sendai's starboard lookouts who reported wake traces moving at high speed across the destroyer's bow. The phosphorescent disturbance in the water suggested surface vessels traveling at speeds exceeding 30 knots. No conventional warship could achieve such velocity. Lieutenant Commander Hiroshi received the contact report and immediately ordered Sendai to general quarters. The destroyer's crew rushed to battle stations while the main battery trained toward the reported contact bearing. Japanese fire control procedures required visual confirmation before opening fire during night engagements. Chief Matsumoto directed his 25mm gun crews toward the suspected enemy contact as phosphorescent wakes became visible from multiple positions around the Tokyo Express formation. The high-speed contacts appeared to be maneuvering for attack positions while maintaining speeds that no known warship could achieve. Commander Itami had never encountered enemy vessels capable of such high-speed maneuvers during 18 months of night fighting throughout the Pacific War. The mysterious contacts moved with agility that suggested very small vessels equipped with powerful engines. This tactical situation had not been anticipated in Japanese naval training. PT-109 accelerated to attack speed as Lieutenant Kennedy spotted the Japanese destroyer formation silhouetted against the star-filled horizon. The three destroyers were maintaining formation at high speed while approaching Henderson Field. This represented a perfect opportunity for PT boat torpedo attacks. Engineman McMahon pushed PT-109's engines to maximum power as the small boat closed on the Japanese formation. The Packard Marine engines produced a distinctive high-pitched sound that could be heard at considerable distances during night operations. Speed was essential for successful torpedo attacks against alert enemy vessels. The PT boat's approach was detected by Sendai's lookouts when the high-speed engines became audible above the destroyer's own machinery noise. The sound was unlike any warship engine that Japanese sailors had encountered during previous night battles. The high RPM whine suggested very small vessels with powerful propulsion systems. Gunnery Officer Yamamoto attempted to train Sendai's main battery toward the approaching engine noise, but the target speed made optical tracking extremely difficult. The destroyer's 55-inch guns required several seconds to traverse and could not keep pace with targets maneuvering at 40 knots. Sonar operator Suzuki reported multiple high-speed contacts approaching from different bearings as PT boats 109, 157, 162, and 169 coordinated their attack on the Japanese destroyer formation. The simultaneous approach from multiple directions divided the enemy's defensive fire while maximizing the probability of successful torpedo hits. Chief Matsumoto opened fire with his 25mm guns as muzzle flashes became visible from the attacking PT boats. The rapid-fire weapons created streams of tracer ammunition that illuminated the night sky. But the small, fast-moving targets proved extremely difficult to hit with manually operated gun mounts. PT-109 launched her first torpedo at 800 yards range as Lieutenant Kennedy brought the boat into optimal attack position relative to the leading Japanese destroyer. The Mark 8 torpedo ran straight and normal towards Sendai while PT-109 turned away at maximum speed to avoid enemy gunfire. The torpedo struck Sendai's forward engine room below the waterline, causing a massive explosion that lifted the destroyer's bow section out of the water. Superheated steam and seawater flooded the engineering spaces while secondary explosions erupted throughout the forward part of the ship. Damage Control Officer Lieutenant Keisuke Tanaka led repair parties into the flooded compartments as Sendai lost speed and began listing to starboard. The destroyer's watertight integrity had been compromised by the torpedo explosion. Emergency pumping systems could not match the rate of flooding through the damaged hull. Commander Itami ordered Sendai to maintain course toward Guadalcanal despite the severe damage to his ship. The Tokyo Express mission required delivery of critical supplies to Japanese forces defending Henderson Field. Abandoning the mission would leave isolated troops without essential reinforcements. PT-157 launched torpedoes at the second Japanese destroyer as the enemy formation attempted to evade the coordinated attack. The small boats moved with incredible agility while launching torpedoes from close range. Japanese gunnery proved ineffective against targets that could maneuver faster than the gun directors could track. Seaman Tanaka witnessed the destruction of two Japanese destroyers by invisible attackers that seemed to strike from multiple directions simultaneously. The enemy vessels moved too fast for visual tracking while delivering devastating torpedo attacks. This form of warfare was completely outside Japanese naval experience. The third Japanese destroyer attempted to escape the torpedo attack by increasing speed to maximum power. But the PT boats could match or exceed the destroyer's velocity while maintaining better maneuverability in the confined waters of Iron Bottom Sound. Escape was impossible against enemies with superior speed. Lieutenant Commander Hiroshi coordinated damage control efforts aboard the sinking Sendai as the destroyer's crew fought to save their ship. The torpedo explosion had caused fatal damage to the vessel's structural integrity. Secondary flooding was occurring throughout multiple compartments. Chief Matsumoto continued firing his 25mm guns at the withdrawing PT boats, but the small targets had vanished into the darkness after completing their torpedo attacks. The brief engagement had lasted less than 10 minutes while resulting in the destruction of 2 Japanese destroyers. PT-109 sustained minor damage from enemy gunfire during the withdrawal from the attack area. Small caliber hits had punctured the boat's plywood hull in several locations. But the lightweight construction allowed continued operation despite structural damage that would have been fatal to conventional warships. The surviving Japanese destroyer radioed a contact report to Combined Fleet Headquarters describing the encounter with unknown American fast attack craft. The vessels possessed speed and firepower capabilities that exceeded any enemy units previously encountered during night engagements in the Solomon Islands. Commander Itami ordered abandon ship as Sendai's list increased beyond the ability of damage control parties to stabilize. The destroyer had lost propulsion and was sinking rapidly following the torpedo explosion. Emergency procedures called for crew evacuation before the ship capsized. Seaman Tanaka entered the water as Sendai rolled over and sank beneath the dark waters of Iron Bottom Sound. The destroyer had been destroyed by enemies that moved faster than any conventional warship while attacking from multiple directions with devastating effectiveness. Japanese naval tactics had proven inadequate against these new threats. The sinking of 2 Japanese destroyers during a single PT boat attack represented a tactical revolution in naval warfare throughout the Solomon Islands. Small fast attack craft had demonstrated the ability to destroy much larger warships using speed and surprise rather than superior firepower. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 3 returned to base after the successful attack on the Tokyo Express formation. PT-109 and her sister boats had proven that American fast attack craft could intercept and destroy Japanese supply runs using tactics that enemy commanders could not effectively counter. Lieutenant Kennedy compiled his action report describing the engagement with Japanese destroyers in Iron Bottom Sound. The PT boats had achieved complete tactical surprise while delivering torpedo attacks that sank 2 enemy vessels. American small boat tactics had revolutionized night warfare in the Pacific theater. Japanese Combined Fleet Headquarters analyzed reports of the encounter with American fast attack craft with growing concern. These mysterious vessels possessed capabilities that made conventional destroyer operations extremely hazardous throughout the Solomon Islands. New tactical countermeasures were urgently required. The destruction of the Tokyo Express run marked a turning point in the struggle for control of the Solomon Islands. Japanese supply operations could no longer rely on high-speed destroyer runs to evade American interception. Fast attack craft had created new vulnerabilities in enemy logistics operations. Survivors from the sunken Japanese destroyers described their encounters with American PT boats to intelligence officers. The enemy vessels moved with impossible speed while attacking from multiple directions simultaneously. Their small size made them nearly invisible targets for conventional naval gunnery. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto received reports of the PT boat attacks with recognition that American naval technology had created new threats to Japanese maritime operations. The fast attack craft represented innovative tactical solutions that Japanese commanders had not anticipated during pre-war planning. The psychological impact of PT boat attacks extended throughout the Japanese fleet as reports of the new threat circulated among destroyer crews. Traditional night fighting tactics were inadequate against enemies that could outrun conventional warships while delivering devastating torpedo attacks. PT boat operations throughout the Solomon Islands demonstrated the effectiveness of small fast attack craft against larger enemy vessels. American naval doctrine had embraced innovative technologies and tactics that provided decisive advantages over conventional Japanese surface forces. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 3 expanded its operations throughout the Solomon Islands as additional PT boats arrived from American shipyards. The small plywood vessels proved ideally suited for the confined waters and night fighting conditions that characterized the Guadalcanal campaign. Japanese destroyer commanders began modifying their tactics to counter the PT boat threat, but found that conventional naval gunnery was ineffective against targets moving at 40 knots. The speed advantage possessed by American fast attack craft made successful engagement extremely difficult. Lieutenant Commander Montgomery analyzed the tactical lessons learned from PT boat operations against Japanese destroyers. The small boats had proven that speed and maneuverability could overcome superior firepower when combined with effective torpedo armament and coordinated attack procedures. The success of PT boat attacks against the Tokyo Express runs forced Japanese commanders to seek alternative supply methods for isolated garrisons throughout the Solomon Islands. Conventional destroyer operations had become too dangerous against American fast attack craft operating from advanced bases. Chief Matsumoto survived the sinking of Sendai and was interrogated by American intelligence officers about Japanese destroyer capabilities and tactics. His descriptions of PT boat attacks emphasized the psychological impact of facing enemies with overwhelming speed advantages. The development of American PT boat tactics represented a revolution in small boat warfare that influenced naval operations throughout the Pacific theater. Fast attack craft had demonstrated the ability to challenge much larger warships when equipped with appropriate weapons and operated by skilled crews. Japanese naval intelligence services attempted to develop countermeasures for American PT boat attacks but found that existing destroyer armament was poorly suited for engaging small high-speed targets. New weapons and tactics were required to address this unprecedented threat. The tactical lessons learned from PT boat operations against Japanese destroyers influenced American naval development for decades beyond World War II. Small fast attack craft had proven their effectiveness against conventional surface forces while demonstrating the importance of speed and surprise in naval warfare. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 3 continued operations throughout the Solomon Islands campaign while maintaining pressure on Japanese supply lines. The PT boats represented a cost-effective method for intercepting enemy logistics operations using relatively small numbers of personnel and vessels. Commander Itami survived the sinking of Sendai and later commanded another destroyer during subsequent operations in the Solomon Islands. His experience with PT boat attacks influenced Japanese tactical development while highlighting the vulnerabilities of conventional destroyer formations. The psychological warfare aspects of PT boat operations proved as important as their tactical effectiveness. Japanese destroyer crews understood that they faced enemies with capabilities that exceeded conventional naval gunnery while operating in conditions that favored the attackers. Lieutenant Kennedy continued commanding PT-109 throughout the Solomon Islands campaign while participating in numerous engagements with Japanese surface forces. His experience with small boat tactics demonstrated the potential of fast attack craft when properly employed against larger enemy vessels. American shipyards accelerated PT boat production as the effectiveness of fast attack craft became apparent throughout the Pacific theater. The plywood boats could be constructed rapidly using conventional boat-building techniques while providing capabilities that rivaled much larger warships. Japanese destroyer losses to PT boat attacks increased throughout the Solomon Islands campaign as American fast attack craft expanded their operations. The small boats had created a new category of naval threat that Japanese commanders struggled to counter effectively. The tactical revolution represented by PT boat operations extended beyond their immediate effectiveness against Japanese destroyers. American naval doctrine embraced the concept of asymmetric warfare using small vessels to challenge larger enemy formations through superior speed and maneuverability. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 3 received additional PT boats and personnel as American naval commanders recognized the strategic importance of fast attack craft operations. The small boats provided a force multiplier effect that maximized the impact of limited resources. Japanese naval aviation attempted to counter PT boat operations through air attacks against American forward bases. But the small boats could be dispersed among numerous concealed positions while operating from improvised facilities that were difficult to locate and destroy. The speed and agility demonstrated by American PT boats influenced Japanese naval development programs as enemy commanders sought to develop their own fast attack craft. But Japanese industrial capacity was insufficient to produce large numbers of small boats while maintaining major warship construction. Lieutenant Commander Hiroshi served as executive officer aboard another Japanese destroyer following the loss of Sendai. His experience with PT boat attacks influenced Japanese tactical training while emphasizing the importance of defensive measures against small, fast-moving targets. The success of American PT boat operations demonstrated that innovative tactics and technology could overcome numerical disadvantages when properly applied against enemy weaknesses. Small, fast attack craft had proven their ability to challenge much larger conventional forces. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 3 maintained continuous pressure on Japanese supply operations throughout the Solomon Islands while adapting their tactics to meet changing enemy countermeasures. The PT boats represented a flexible platform capable of rapid tactical evolution. Japanese destroyer crews received additional training in anti-small boat warfare as the PT boat threat expanded throughout the Pacific theater. But conventional naval gunnery remained poorly suited for engaging targets with the speed and maneuverability characteristics of American fast attack craft. The psychological impact of PT boat attacks on Japanese morale extended beyond the immediate tactical effects. Enemy personnel understood that they faced an adversary capable of developing innovative solutions to overcome conventional military advantages. American naval intelligence analyzed Japanese responses to PT boat operations while seeking to maximize the effectiveness of fast attack craft tactics. The small boats had proven their ability to disrupt enemy logistics operations using minimal resources. The tactical lessons learned from PT boat engagements with Japanese destroyers influenced American naval doctrine throughout the remainder of World War II. Fast attack craft had demonstrated capabilities that exceeded their size and cost while providing strategic effects disproportionate to their numbers. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 3 continued expanding its operations as additional PT boats arrived in the Solomon Islands theater. The small boats had established their effectiveness against Japanese surface forces while proving their ability to operate in contested waters. Japanese Combined Fleet Headquarters struggled to develop effective countermeasures for American PT boat attacks as the threat expanded throughout the Pacific. The speed and maneuverability of the small boats made them extremely difficult targets for conventional naval weapons. The revolutionary impact of PT boat operations extended beyond their immediate tactical effectiveness to influence the fundamental nature of naval warfare. Small, fast attack craft had proven that innovation and proper employment could overcome traditional advantages in size and firepower. Lieutenant Kennedy and the crew of PT-109 became symbols of American innovation and courage in developing new methods of naval warfare. Their success against Japanese destroyers demonstrated the potential of small boat tactics when properly executed against larger enemy vessels. The destruction of Japanese destroyers by American PT boats marked a new chapter in the evolution of naval warfare. Fast attack craft had proven their ability to challenge conventional surface forces while operating from concealed bases with minimal logistical support. Japanese naval officers who survived encounters with American PT boats described the psychological impact of facing enemies with overwhelming speed advantages. The small boats moved with agility that made them nearly impossible targets for conventional gunnery systems. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 3 established the template for fast attack craft operations that influenced naval development for generations beyond World War II. The PT boats had demonstrated that small vessels could achieve strategic effects when equipped with appropriate weapons and operated by skilled crews. The tactical revolution initiated by American PT boat attacks against Japanese destroyers continued throughout the Pacific War as fast attack craft expanded their operations. Small boats had proven their effectiveness against much larger conventional warships while establishing new paradigms for naval warfare. Japanese destroyer commanders modified their operational procedures to reduce vulnerability to PT boat attacks, but found that the speed and maneuverability of American fast attack craft made successful countermeasures extremely difficult. The small boats had created a new category of naval threat. The success of PT boat operations against the Tokyo Express runs demonstrated that innovative tactics could overcome enemy advantages in conventional naval forces. American fast attack craft had established their effectiveness while influencing the broader development of small boat warfare. Lieutenant Commander Montgomery compiled comprehensive reports on PT boat tactics and effectiveness for distribution to other American naval units. The lessons learned from engagements with Japanese destroyers provided valuable insights for the employment of fast attack craft throughout the Pacific theater. The psychological warfare aspects of PT boat operations proved as important as their direct tactical effects against Japanese surface forces. Enemy personnel understood that they faced adversaries capable of developing innovative solutions that rendered conventional advantages obsolete. Japanese naval intelligence services analyzed captured PT boat equipment and interrogated American prisoners to understand the capabilities of fast attack craft. But the tactical advantages of speed and surprise could not be easily countered using conventional naval weapons and procedures. The strategic impact of American PT boat operations extended far beyond their immediate tactical successes against Japanese destroyers. Fast attack craft had demonstrated the potential for small innovative forces to achieve effects disproportionate to their size and cost. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 3 maintained continuous operations throughout the Solomon Islands campaign while adapting to changing tactical conditions. The PT boats represented a flexible platform capable of rapid evolution in response to enemy countermeasures. Japanese destroyer losses to PT boat attacks created supply shortages for isolated garrisons throughout the Solomon Islands as the Tokyo Express runs became increasingly dangerous. American fast attack craft had disrupted enemy logistics operations using minimal resources. The development of PT boat tactics represented a fundamental shift in naval warfare that emphasized speed and maneuverability over traditional advantages in armor and firepower. Small boats had proven their ability to challenge much larger conventional vessels. Lieutenant Kennedy continued his service with PT-109 throughout the remainder of the Solomon Islands campaign while participating in numerous engagements with Japanese surface forces. His experience demonstrated the effectiveness of properly trained crews operating innovative fast attack craft. The tactical lessons learned from American PT boat operations influenced naval development programs throughout the Allied forces as other nations sought to develop their own fast attack craft capabilities. The small boats had established new standards for naval innovation. Japanese naval aviation increased efforts to locate and destroy American PT boat bases as the threat from fast attack craft expanded throughout the Pacific theater. But the small boats could operate from concealed positions while maintaining high mobility. The revolutionary impact of PT boat attacks against Japanese destroyers continued to influence naval warfare long after the conclusion of World War II. Fast attack craft had established their effectiveness while demonstrating the importance of innovation in military technology. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 3 received recognition for their pioneering efforts in developing fast attack craft tactics against enemy surface forces. The PT boats had proven that small innovative units could achieve strategic effects when properly employed against conventional opponents. The psychological impact of PT boat operations on Japanese naval personnel created lasting effects that extended throughout the remainder of the Pacific War. Enemy forces understood that they faced adversaries capable of developing solutions that rendered traditional advantages obsolete. American PT boat operations in the Solomon Islands established the foundation for fast attack craft development that influenced naval warfare for generations. The small boats had demonstrated that innovation and proper employment could overcome significant disadvantages in size and conventional firepower. The night of August 1, 1943 in Iron Bottom Sound marked a turning point in the naval war as American PT boats demonstrated their devastating effectiveness against Japanese destroyer forces. Fast attack craft had revolutionized small boat warfare while establishing new paradigms that would influence military operations for decades beyond World War II. The strategic implications of PT boat success against Japanese destroyers extended far beyond the immediate tactical victories achieved during the Solomon Islands campaign. American naval planners recognized that fast attack craft represented a fundamental shift in maritime warfare that challenged traditional concepts of naval supremacy based on large capital ships. Captain Roy Boehm commanded the expanded PT boat operations throughout the Solomon Islands as additional squadrons arrived from training facilities in the United States. His experience with small boat tactics emphasized the importance of speed and surprise in achieving victory against numerically superior enemy forces. The psychological impact on Japanese naval personnel who survived PT boat attacks continued to reverberate throughout the Imperial Navy as reports of these encounters circulated among destroyer crews. Traditional concepts of naval combat had been shattered by enemies who moved faster than any conventional warship while delivering devastating torpedo attacks. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 5 arrived in the Solomon Islands with advanced PT boats equipped with improved radar systems and communication equipment. These enhanced vessels could coordinate attacks with unprecedented precision while maintaining the speed and maneuverability advantages that had proven so effective against Japanese destroyer formations. Lieutenant Robert Bulkeley commanded PT-41 during expanded operations against Japanese supply lines throughout the Solomon Islands. His crew had trained extensively in night attack procedures that maximized the effectiveness of fast attack craft against larger enemy vessels. The small boats represented a revolution in naval tactics. Japanese naval intelligence services struggled to develop effective countermeasures for American PT boat attacks as these mysterious vessels continued to inflict heavy losses on destroyer formations. The speed and maneuverability of the small boats made them extremely difficult targets for conventional naval weapons. Torpedo Man First Class Edward Kreuger supervised the arming of Mark 13 torpedoes aboard point boats operating from forward bases throughout the Solomon Islands. Each weapon carried a 600-pound warhead capable of sinking a destroyer with a single hit. The lightweight torpedoes were ideally suited for small boat operations. The tactical lessons learned from PT boat engagements with Japanese destroyers influenced American naval doctrine throughout the Pacific War. Small fast attack craft had demonstrated capabilities that exceeded their size and cost while providing strategic effects disproportionate to their numbers. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 7 established advanced operating bases throughout the Solomon Islands using concealed positions that could not be easily detected by Japanese aerial reconnaissance. The PT boats could operate from improvised facilities while maintaining high mobility and operational flexibility. Japanese Combined Fleet Headquarters received increasingly desperate reports from destroyer commanders describing encounters with American fast attack craft. These vessels possessed capabilities that made conventional surface operations extremely hazardous throughout the contested waters of the Solomon Islands. The development of PT boat tactics represented a fundamental shift in naval warfare that emphasized asymmetric approaches to combat. Small, innovative forces could achieve strategic effects when properly employed against conventional enemy formations that relied on traditional advantages in size and firepower. Lieutenant Commander Henry Farrow analyzed PT boat performance data to optimize tactics and equipment for future operations against Japanese surface forces. His studies revealed that speed and surprise were the decisive factors in successful engagements with enemy destroyers. Radioman First Class James Sterling operated advanced communication equipment that allowed real-time coordination between multiple PT boats during complex attack operations. Secure radio networks enabled tactical flexibility that multiplied the effectiveness of individual boats. The success of American PT boat operations demonstrated that innovative technologies and tactics could overcome significant disadvantages in conventional military capabilities. Fast attack craft had proven their ability to challenge much larger enemy formations while operating with minimal logistical support. Japanese destroyer crews received intensive training in anti-small boat warfare as the PT boat threat expanded throughout the Pacific theater. But conventional naval gunnery remained poorly suited for engaging targets with the speed and maneuverability characteristics of American fast attack craft. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 9 pioneered advanced night fighting techniques that took maximum advantage of PT boat capabilities against enemy surface forces. The small boats could approach undetected while delivering surprise torpedo attacks that devastated Japanese destroyer formations. Lieutenant John Harley commanded PT 459 during operations that demonstrated the effectiveness of coordinated attacks by multiple fast attack craft. His experience emphasized the importance of proper training and equipment in maximizing the combat potential of small boat forces. The psychological warfare aspects of PT boat operations proved as important as their direct tactical effectiveness against Japanese naval forces. Enemy personnel understood that they faced adversaries capable of developing innovative solutions that rendered traditional military advantages obsolete. Engineman First Class Robert Johnson maintained the powerful Packard Marine engines that gave PT boats their decisive speed advantage over conventional enemy vessels. Each 1,500 horsepower engine required careful maintenance to ensure maximum performance during combat operations. Japanese naval aviation attempted to counter PT boat operations through intensive air attacks against American forward bases throughout the Solomon Islands. But the small boats could be dispersed among numerous concealed positions while maintaining their operational effectiveness. The strategic impact of American PT boat attacks against Japanese destroyer forces created supply shortages for isolated enemy garrisons throughout the Solomon Islands. Fast attack craft had disrupted critical logistics operations using relatively minimal resources and personnel. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 11 introduced innovative tactics that combined PT boat attacks with submarine operations to maximize damage against Japanese surface forces. The coordinated approach created multiple threats that enemy commanders could not effectively counter simultaneously. Lieutenant William Battle commanded PT 596 during night operations that showcased the evolution of fast attack craft tactics throughout the Solomon Islands campaign. His crew demonstrated the effectiveness of properly trained personnel operating advanced small boat platforms. The technological advantages that enabled PT boat success against Japanese destroyers included lightweight construction, powerful engines, and sophisticated communication equipment. American industrial capacity had produced vessels that maximized speed and maneuverability while carrying effective torpedo armament. Japanese destroyer commanders modified their operational procedures in attempts to reduce vulnerability to PT boat attacks, but found that the fundamental advantages of speed and surprise could not be easily countered using conventional naval tactics. Gunners Mate First Class Anthony Farah operated the defensive armament aboard PT boats during engagements with Japanese surface forces. The small boats carried machine guns and light cannons that provided limited protection against enemy return fire while maintaining their primary focus on torpedo attacks. The tactical revolution initiated by American PT boat operations against Japanese destroyers influenced naval development programs throughout the Allied forces as other nations sought to develop their own fast attack craft capabilities. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 13 established the template for advanced PT boat operations that would influence small boat warfare for generations beyond World War II. The squadron demonstrated that innovative tactics could overcome traditional disadvantages in size and conventional firepower. Lieutenant Commander Paul Fay analyzed the strategic implications of PT boat success for future naval operations throughout the Pacific theater. His reports emphasized the potential for small, innovative forces to achieve effects far beyond their apparent military capabilities. The economic implications of American PT boat production demonstrated the cost-effectiveness of fast attack craft compared to conventional naval vessels. The small boats could be constructed rapidly using standard boat-building techniques while providing capabilities that rivaled much larger warships. Japanese Naval Intelligence Services analyzed captured PT boat equipment and interrogated American prisoners to understand the technological basis for fast attack craft effectiveness. But the tactical advantages could not be easily replicated without fundamental changes to enemy naval doctrine. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 15 pioneered the use of PT boats for special operations and reconnaissance missions that expanded the role of fast attack craft beyond their original torpedo attack function. The versatile platforms proved adaptable to numerous mission requirements. Lieutenant George Ross commanded PT 169 during operations that demonstrated the psychological impact of fast attack craft on enemy morale. Japanese destroyer crews reported feeling helpless against adversaries who could attack from multiple directions while remaining nearly invisible. The manufacturing techniques developed for PT boat construction influenced American shipbuilding throughout the remainder of World War II. Lightweight materials and efficient production methods enabled rapid expansion of fast attack craft capabilities. Quartermaster First Class Edmund Druich navigated PT boats through the complex waters of the Solomon Islands using specialized charts and navigation equipment designed for small boat operations. Precise navigation was essential for successful night attacks against enemy formations. Japanese Combined Fleet Headquarters struggled to develop new strategies for countering American PT boat attacks as conventional surface warfare tactics proved inadequate against these innovative adversaries. The speed and maneuverability of fast attack craft had created unprecedented challenges. The international implications of American PT boat success influenced naval development programs throughout the Allied nations as military leaders recognized the strategic potential of small, innovative forces properly equipped and employed. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 17 established advanced training programs that standardized PT boat tactics and procedures for maximum effectiveness against enemy surface forces. The systematic approach ensured consistent performance across all fast attack craft operations. Lieutenant Joseph Kernaghan commanded PT 103 during engagements that showcased the evolution of torpedo attack techniques against Japanese destroyer formations. His experience demonstrated the importance of continuous tactical development in maintaining combat effectiveness. The logistical advantages of PT boat operations included minimal fuel consumption, reduced maintenance requirements, and simplified supply chains compared to conventional naval vessels. These factors enabled sustained operations from forward bases with limited infrastructure. Japanese destroyer losses to PT boat attacks increased throughout the Solomon Islands campaign as American fast attack craft expanded their operations while refining their tactical procedures. The small boats had created a new category of naval threat. Signalman First Class Harold Marney operated communication equipment that coordinated PT boat attacks with other American naval forces throughout the Solomon Islands. Effective coordination multiplied the impact of fast attack craft operations. The doctrinal implications of PT boat success against Japanese destroyers influenced American naval strategy throughout the remainder of the Pacific War. Fast attack craft had demonstrated the potential for asymmetric warfare to overcome conventional military advantages. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 19 introduced night fighting techniques that maximized the stealth advantages of PT boats while delivering devastating torpedo attacks against unsuspecting enemy formations. The tactics proved highly effective against Japanese destroyer operations. Lieutenant Richard Carasy commanded PT-105 during operations that demonstrated the adaptability of fast attack craft to changing tactical conditions. His crew showed that properly trained personnel could rapidly adjust their procedures to counter enemy countermeasures. The scientific principles underlying PT boat design influenced naval architecture throughout the post-war period as military and civilian applications benefited from innovations developed for fast attack craft. Lightweight construction and powerful engines became standard features. Japanese naval personnel who survived PT boat attacks described the experience as facing supernatural enemies who could appear and disappear at will while delivering devastating attacks. The psychological impact extended far beyond immediate tactical effects. Machinist Mate First Class Harold Williamson maintained the complex mechanical systems aboard PT boats that enabled their superior performance compared to conventional vessels. Skilled maintenance personnel were essential for maximizing the combat effectiveness of fast attack craft. The tactical flexibility demonstrated by American PT boat operations influenced military thinking about the role of small, innovative forces in achieving strategic objectives. Fast attack craft had proven their ability to disrupt enemy operations using minimal resources. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 21 established protocols for coordinated attacks by large numbers of PT boats against major enemy formations. The mass attack techniques overwhelmed Japanese defensive capabilities while maximizing damage potential. Lieutenant Frank Dean commanded PT-157 during night operations that showcased the stealth capabilities of fast attack craft operating in enemy-controlled waters. His crew demonstrated that small boats could penetrate defensive formations while remaining undetected. The training programs developed for PT boat crews emphasized speed, accuracy, and coordination in executing torpedo attacks against moving targets. Extensive practice was required to achieve the proficiency necessary for successful combat operations. Japanese destroyer commanders reported that conventional defensive measures were ineffective against American PT boat attacks due to the speed and unpredictability of these small adversaries. Traditional naval tactics required fundamental revision. Boatswain's Mate First Class John Meade supervised deck operations aboard PT boats during high-speed maneuvers and torpedo attacks. His expertise ensured that weapon systems functioned properly under the extreme conditions of fast attack craft combat. The strategic mobility of PT boat forces enabled rapid deployment to threatened areas throughout the Solomon Islands as tactical conditions changed. Fast attack craft could respond to emerging opportunities faster than conventional naval forces. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 23 pioneered the use of advanced radar equipment aboard PT boats to enhance navigation and target detection capabilities. The technological improvements increased the effectiveness of night operations against enemy surface forces. Lieutenant William Liebenow commanded PT 596 during operations that demonstrated the evolution of fast attack craft from experimental platforms to proven weapon systems. His experience showed that innovation and proper employment could overcome significant disadvantages. The manufacturing capacity dedicated to PT boat construction represented a significant investment in unconventional naval warfare that paid substantial dividends throughout the Pacific Campaign. American industrial advantages enabled rapid expansion of fast attack craft capabilities. Japanese naval aviation increased efforts to locate and destroy American PT boat bases as the threat from fast attack craft became a major concern for enemy operations throughout the Solomon Islands. Air attacks proved only marginally effective. Radioman First Class Albert Cluster operated sophisticated communication equipment that enabled PT boats to coordinate with friendly aircraft and surface vessels during complex operations. Effective communication was essential for maximizing combat effectiveness. The operational flexibility of PT boat forces allowed adaptation to numerous mission requirements beyond their original torpedo attack role. Fast attack craft proved capable of reconnaissance, special operations, and convoy escort duties. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 25 established maintenance facilities that supported sustained PT boat operations throughout the Solomon Islands campaign. Proper logistical support was essential for maintaining the high operational tempo of fast attack craft. Lieutenant Charles Tilden commanded PT-169 during engagements that highlighted the importance of crew training and equipment reliability in achieving success against enemy surface forces. Human factors remained crucial despite technological advantages. The intelligence-gathering capabilities of PT boat crews provided valuable information about Japanese naval operations throughout the Solomon Islands. Small boats could approach enemy positions for reconnaissance while remaining undetected. Japanese Combined Fleet Headquarters acknowledged that conventional destroyer operations had become extremely hazardous due to American PT boat attacks. The speed and surprise achieved by fast attack craft made effective countermeasures nearly impossible. Torpedo Man First Class Raymond Starkey supervised the maintenance and employment of torpedo weapons aboard PT boats during extensive combat operations. Reliable torpedo performance was essential for the success of fast attack craft missions. The tactical innovations developed during PT boat operations against Japanese destroyers influenced small boat warfare throughout the remainder of World War II and beyond. American forces had established new paradigms for naval combat. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 27 introduced coordinated attack procedures that maximized the effectiveness of multiple PT boats operating against single enemy targets. The concentrated firepower overwhelmed Japanese defensive capabilities. Lieutenant Robert Montgomery commanded PT-161 during night operations that demonstrated the stealth advantages of fast attack craft in contested waters. His crew showed that small boats could operate successfully despite enemy air and surface superiority. The technological superiority of American PT boats over Japanese small craft enabled dominance in fast attack operations throughout the Solomon Islands. Enemy attempts to develop equivalent capabilities proved largely unsuccessful. Japanese destroyer crews described PT boat attacks as encounters with ghostly adversaries who could strike without warning while remaining virtually invisible to conventional detection methods. The psychological impact was severe and lasting. Electrician's mate First Class Robert Ballantyne maintained the electrical systems aboard PT boats that powered radar, radio, and navigation equipment essential for night operations. Reliable electrical power was crucial for combat effectiveness. The strategic implications of PT boat success extended beyond immediate tactical victories to influence American naval policy throughout the Pacific War. Fast attack craft had demonstrated their value as force multipliers. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 29 established advanced tactics that combined stealth approaches with concentrated torpedo attacks to achieve maximum effectiveness against enemy destroyer formations. The procedures became standard throughout PT boat forces. Lieutenant Byron White commanded PT-109 following Lieutenant Kennedy's reassignment and continued the development of fast attack craft tactics against Japanese surface forces. His experience demonstrated the continuity of tactical evolution. The logistical simplicity of PT boat operations enabled sustained combat activity from forward bases with minimal infrastructure requirements. Fast attack craft could operate independently while maintaining high effectiveness. Japanese naval intelligence reports emphasized the revolutionary nature of American PT boat tactics and their impact on conventional destroyer operations. Traditional naval warfare concepts required fundamental revision. Coxswain Albert Ross operated PT boat helm controls during high-speed maneuvers and torpedo attacks that required precise boat handling under extreme conditions. Skilled seamanship was essential for successful fast attack craft operations. The manufacturing innovations developed for PT boat construction influenced civilian boat building throughout the post-war period. Lightweight materials and efficient production techniques found widespread application. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 31 pioneered the integration of PT boat operations with amphibious assault forces during landing operations throughout the Pacific Theater. Fast attack craft provided valuable fire support and reconnaissance capabilities. Lieutenant Alvin Cluster commanded PT-103 during operations that showcased the adaptability of fast attack craft to changing mission requirements. His crew demonstrated that PT boats could fulfill numerous roles beyond torpedo attacks. The economic impact of PT boat production demonstrated the cost-effectiveness of innovative military technologies compared to conventional approaches. Small investments in fast attack craft yielded disproportionate strategic benefits. Japanese destroyer commanders modified their operational patterns to avoid predictable routes and timing that had made them vulnerable to PT boat attacks. But the fundamental speed advantage of American fast attack craft remained decisive. Gunners mate First Class Warren Ziegler operated defensive armament aboard PT boats during engagements with Japanese surface forces. Light weapons provided limited protection but were essential for crew survival during withdrawals. The doctrinal revolution initiated by PT boat success influenced military thinking about asymmetric warfare and the potential for small, innovative forces to achieve strategic objectives against numerically superior opponents. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 33 established procedures for night reconnaissance missions that took advantage of PT boat stealth capabilities while gathering intelligence about enemy operations. Small boats proved ideal for covert observation. Lieutenant John Lowry commanded PT-162 during operations that demonstrated the evolution of torpedo attack techniques against moving targets. His experience showed the importance of continuous training and tactical development. The technological advantages that enabled PT boat success included not only speed and maneuverability, but also advanced communication equipment that allowed coordination between multiple boats during complex operations. Japanese naval personnel who encountered American PT boats reported that conventional naval training had not prepared them for adversaries with such overwhelming advantages in speed and tactical flexibility. Machinist mate First Class Patrick Hickey maintained the propulsion systems aboard PT boats that provided their decisive speed advantage over enemy vessels. Engine reliability was crucial for successful combat operations and crew survival. The strategic mobility of PT boat squadrons enabled rapid response to changing tactical conditions throughout the Solomon Islands campaign. Fast attack craft could be repositioned quickly to counter enemy initiatives. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 35 introduced mass attack techniques that coordinated dozens of PT boats in simultaneous strikes against major Japanese naval formations. The overwhelming firepower achieved decisive results. Lieutenant William Breslin commanded PT-169 during engagements that highlighted the psychological impact of fast attack craft on enemy morale. Japanese crews reported feeling helpless against adversaries they could neither catch nor effectively engage. The training facilities established for PT boat crews throughout the United States produced thousands of skilled personnel who brought innovative tactics and high morale to Pacific theater operations. Human resources proved as important as technology. Japanese Combined Fleet Headquarters issued new operational directives attempting to counter the PT boat threat, but found that conventional naval tactics were poorly suited for engaging fast-moving small targets. Radioman First Class George Barnum operated communication systems that coordinated PT boat attacks with friendly aircraft and submarine forces. Multi-platform coordination multiplied the effectiveness of individual attacks. The intelligence value of PT boat operations extended beyond their direct tactical impact to provide valuable information about Japanese naval activities throughout the contested waters of the Solomon Islands. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 37 established maintenance procedures that kept PT boats operational despite the harsh tropical conditions and intensive combat operations that characterized the Solomon Islands campaign. Lieutenant Joseph Roberts commanded PT-109 during operations that demonstrated the continuing evolution of fast attack craft tactics against Japanese surface forces. Innovation remained essential for maintaining combat effectiveness. The manufacturing techniques developed for PT boat construction enabled rapid production increases as American shipyards adapted to meet expanding demand for fast attack craft throughout the Pacific theater. Japanese destroyer losses to PT boat attacks created cascading effects throughout enemy supply operations as the Tokyo Express runs became increasingly dangerous and ineffective. Fast attack craft had disrupted critical logistics. Boatswain's Mate First Class William Johnston supervised torpedo loading and firing procedures aboard PT boats during night attacks against enemy destroyer formations. Precise weapons handling was essential for mission success. The operational security measures developed for PT boat forces protected their advanced bases from enemy detection while maintaining the secrecy essential for successful surprise attacks against Japanese naval formations. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 39 pioneered daylight attack techniques that expanded PT boat capabilities beyond their traditional night fighting role. Fast attack craft proved adaptable to various tactical conditions. Lieutenant Robert Lee commanded PT-157 during operations that showcased the stealth capabilities of fast attack craft operating in heavily defended enemy waters. Small boats could penetrate areas denied to larger vessels. The strategic impact of American PT boat operations extended throughout the Pacific War as Japanese naval commanders were forced to allocate significant resources to counter a threat they could not effectively engage. The night of August 1, 1943 in Iron Bottom Sound had initiated a tactical revolution that continued throughout the remainder of World War II. American PT boats had established fast attack craft as decisive weapons capable of challenging much larger conventional naval forces while operating with minimal logistical support and achieving strategic effects far beyond their apparent capabilities. The legacy of PT boat operations against Japanese destroyer forces extended far into the post-war era as military planners throughout the world studied the tactical innovations that had revolutionized small boat warfare. Fast attack craft had proven that speed, surprise, and innovative tactics could overcome traditional advantages in size and firepower. Motor Torpedo Boat Squadron 41 continued operations throughout the final phases of the Pacific War, while maintaining the tactical superiority that American PT boats had established against Japanese naval forces. The small boats remained effective weapons systems until the conclusion of hostilities. The technological principles demonstrated by PT boat success influenced naval architecture and military doctrine for generations beyond World War II. Fast attack craft had established new paradigms for asymmetric warfare that continued to influence military thinking throughout the modern era. Japanese naval personnel who survived encounters with American PT boats carried the psychological scars of facing technologically superior adversaries for the remainder of their lives. The shock of encountering enemies with overwhelming speed advantages became a defining memory of the Pacific War. The strategic revolution initiated by PT boat attacks against Japanese destroyers on that August night in Iron Bottom Sound had changed the nature of naval warfare forever. Small, innovative forces had proven their ability to achieve decisive victories against much larger conventional opponents through superior technology, tactics, and determination.